When we open the book of Numbers chapter 1, it's tempting to think we're stepping into a dusty census record, a long list of names, tribes, and totals. But if we take a breath and step a little closer, if we let the wilderness quiet our minds like it once did for our ancestors, something different begins to rise from the page. Numbers does not open with counting. It opens with a summons. Picture the scene. It's the second year after Israel walked out of Egypt. They're no longer slaves, but they're not yet a settled nation either. They stand in that strange in-between, free, but not yet formed, redeemed, but not yet ready. It's in that delicate space that Elohim speaks to Moshe from inside the tent of meeting, and his words are not soft suggestions. They are precise, commanding, kingdom-shaping instructions. Every man 20 and older, everyone able to go out to battle, is to be counted. At first, it sounds like simple logistics, a head count of fighting men. But look again. These people had lived their whole lives under the whips of Egypt. They weren't warriors. They weren't trained soldiers. And yet here, in the wilderness, Elohim calls them his army. The census isn't about population statistics. It's about identity. It's the moment where former slaves are publicly redefined as warriors of the kingdom. It's a commission, a transformation, a dividing line between who they had been and who they were becoming. This is actually the rhythm of the entire kingdom story. God always establishes identity first, alignment second, and movement third. Before he leads Israel forward, he arranges them. Before he brings them into the land, he tells them who they are. Even Yeshua echoes this rhythm centuries later. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them. Being known comes before following. And as the tribes gather, each represented by their leader, Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and the rest, something beautiful and easily overlooked begins to unfold. In Hebrew thought, names are never just labels. They are stories, prophecies, declarations. Reuben means, behold, a son. Judah means, praise. Issachar means, there is reward. Every name spoken is a reminder of identity, calling, and destiny. When you list these names, you're not just cataloging families. You are retelling the story of an entire nation through the language of meaning. Something else is happening beneath the surface, too. Something only visible if you know where to look. The numbers recorded here will directly shape the formation of the camp in Numbers 2. That formation, when viewed from above, will ultimately take the shape of a cross stretching across the wilderness floor, a shadow of Messiah that Israel camped beneath long before they understood its fullness. But before there is a shape, there is a census. And before the census, there is a call. Nothing in this chapter is accidental. Everything is intentional. And then there's the Levites, the tribe set apart, not counted among the warriors. While the other tribes are formed into an army, the Levites are positioned as guardians of holiness. Their calling isn't to wield weapons, but to protect the sacred presence. They foreshadow the deeper priesthood that Messiah himself would one day embody, and the priestly calling of those who follow him. Even here, in the wilderness, the pattern of revelation is already whispering. Warriors, priests, holiness, and divine alignment. But now, if we lean in closer, really close, we discover something that lies buried so deep in the chapter that most readers never notice it. A secret stitched directly into the text, hidden not in symbolism or geography or numbers, but in the meanings of the names themselves. Imagine an ancient scribe smiling quietly as he writes, knowing that one day someone would finally pause long enough to hear the message woven into the lineage. Earlier, we looked at the names along with their meanings. But now, let's do something different. Let's set aside the names entirely and read only the meanings, one after another, in the exact order they appear. Listen to what emerges when you let the meanings speak for themselves, like a prophecy rising out of the wilderness. Behold, a son who is dedicated and distinguished. Though enclosed, He tends his vineyard. He has heard the day of Elohim, extending his right hand to establish radiance. Though fortune seems hidden, his people will rest and rejoice. Attentive and watchful, they will rise as nobles, heroes of Elohim. Their praise will break through at the rising dawn, though they are surrounded, preserved, and even sent out. Their reward comes as they blossom and return, with Elohim guarding them. In his dwelling, fear is overcome by strength, and hope in Elohim rises again. They will be fruitful, sprouting from the firstborn and finding rest. Though they struggle in misfortune, they will be guarded, formed, and brought into peace. Their testimony will rise, and they will be remembered. Though swallowed by trials, the fire of Elohim will protect them. The judge will stand in the hollow place, bringing abundance and the overflow of blessing. Though they wrestle, they will find peace and rest in the right hand. Their struggles will divide what is false from what is true, but Elohim will guard them and bring his people back in peace. When you hear it that way, without the names, without the lists, suddenly Numbers 1 stops sounding like a census and starts sounding like a prophecy. A message of identity, struggle, restoration, fruitfulness, protection, judgment, peace, and return. A message that foreshadows Messiah, the remnant, the regathering of Israel, and the awakening of Ephraim after long exile. This is the heartbeat of the chapter. Israel is not a crowd. Israel is a called, named, known, and guarded people. A nation arranged with divine intention, even in the barren wilderness. The census was not just about numbers. It was about identity. It was the moment the tribes stood together not as ex-slaves, but as an army of Elohim, a foreshadow of the sealed remnant in Revelation and the awakening happening today in our generation. And when the chapter closes, the wilderness falls quiet again. The tribes stand in formation. The Levites guard the sacred. There is no marching yet, no battles, just identity, just alignment, just readiness. Numbers 1 is the story of being counted, not because Elohim needed the tally, but because his people needed to know they mattered. Every family, every call, every destiny. And in this often overlooked corner of Scripture, we discovered that the wilderness is not empty at all. It is filled with calling, structure, prophecy, and the quiet whispers of the kingdom waiting to unfold.